This is going to be the first video in a series of Chief Architect tutorials where I am going to be showing you how to use this program as well as showing you some design projects to help you learn how to use the tools and to create some cool things. So the first video, I'm just going to talk about what Chief Architect is, obviously, and then show you or just around the basic UI so you know how to navigate around the program so that when I start talking about the different tools in future videos, you know have a general idea of where to find them. So Chief Architect is primarily a home architectural home design software. Its tools mainly cater to doing that type of design work for more of a residential housing. It can definitely be used for other projects besides just houses, but most of its tools are catered towards showing and creating renderings and drawings and things like that for residential housing. So that's what you'll see it used for most of the time. So we'll get into going through what you see when you first open a blank document. That's what I've gone ahead and done here. You can do that by going up to File, New Plan. So this should look pretty familiar for you. All these little drop downs, they're really common in just about every program. So if the file section, you obviously make a new plan, open a previous plan. You can look at some templates. You're going to always want to make sure you're saving your files pretty regularly because you're not going to want to lose all the hard work you've done. And then you're going to get, the more you use the program, you'll get familiar with the export and the print sections. That's going to be how you export pictures or DWG files, which you're going to need to be able to show people and try and communicate the work you've done. That's pretty much it for here. Edit, obviously you have the undo, redo, copy, paste, things like that. This is also where you're going to find your default settings and your preferences. I'll talk about both of those a little bit later, but that is where they are. Build is where most of your work is going to be done. The build tab has all the different things you need for house: walls, railing, fence, door, windows, and you can see these all have flyout menus right here. And I'll talk about those a little bit later, but that's where you're going to go for if you're looking to try and build any standard things you're going to need for your house. And then terrain is just like it sounds. That's how you're going to do some landscaping, change the terrain around your house, things like that. Those are all going to be found under this drop down. The library window, you're not going to have to use very often, but if you do, there it is. The 3D window is going to be, we're going to talk about this in a lot more depth in later videos, but this is going to be how you can portray your drawings, and you can make some really beautiful renderings and ray traces that can help show your ideas and what you've created and make it so that any potential customers or whoever you're trying to show this design to has a good idea of what you've done. And there's some more things up here. I won't go over them. You can feel free to poke around in them. But most of it is self-explanatory. But you'll see a lot of those things like a new plan, open plan, save, print, things like that are repeated on this bar in this area right here. You can completely customize this, but these are the most basic ones that you'll be using most of the time. Next, we come to the view set. It's not going to make a difference now, but these different sets control what you're actually able to see, because the more complicated your design is, your view can get cluttered with different dimensions and other different markings that make the design hard to look at, and you can use these to focus in on whatever you're working on. Over here, again, we have the default settings I'll talk about later, as well as preferences. I'm going to skip over most of this to this section over here. This is very important because sometimes you get a little lost with what you're looking at. You can see right now we're selected in the default configuration, which controls all of this stuff on the bottom row. Now, these different configurations are for different things you're working on, and it makes it so that a lot of the tools that you would have to come and find up here are more easily accessible based on whatever work you're doing. So this is the default configuration. It's going to have things like walls, railings, doors, windows, stairs, create a new floor, roof. These are just all of your basic, like, creating the skeleton of a house. These are all the most of the tools you're going to need. Next, we have the kitchen and bath design. So this is going to also have walls, but more focused on things like cabinets, all the different types of cabinets program offers, as well as some electrical outlets, things of that nature. Next is terrain configuration. That looks like a little mountain, and this takes a lot of the things in this terrain window and puts them here so you don't have to dig as far to get to them. Things like creating a terrain perimeter, adding fences, a road, editing the terrain, sprinklers, all those types of things. Next is the electrical configuration. This again has different outlets, lights, and it allows you to mark different wirings for the locations of HVAC and other things like that, data lines, things of that nature that you will learn about when you get into more advanced things. And then last but not least is the space planning configuration. Personally, I don't use this very much, but these different model rooms allow you to get a good idea of what size certain types of rooms should be. That's kind of standard. So if you're not really sure, how big a bathroom should be or something, you can come over here and grab a bathroom and see what size a general bathroom would be, which you can obviously change or something to get to what you're looking for, but it just gives you a good idea of how much space these things are going to be taking up. So this is back to the default configuration, and you may have noticed when I clicked on the space planning, it gave me all these different options. So when you click on something, for example, a wall, it'll give you all of the different options that you would see if you click this drop down. So it'll show you every different type of wall that you can create, and this allows, again, for you to access these things easier instead of having to go build wall and then choose which type of wall. All of these, if you're making walls, you can just select this and then it'll show you all the different types of walls here, which you can just select and draw. The last thing I want to talk about is over on the right hand of the screen. This is the library browser. So once you get the skeleton of your house done, you're going to want to fill it, and this is where you go to find different pieces that you're going to need for the interior or exterior of your house. So just for example, inside the interiors folders, you have furniture, beds, desks, tables, all these different types of things that you're going to need to furnish the house and be able to show it as a livable space. So it's not just walls. You're able to get much more detailed than that with some preset different items that you might want to use, and we'll go over later how to place those, and then again how to customize them, which is something really cool about Chief Architect. And the last thing I want to draw your attention to is the far right side of the screen. This is where a lot of the view tools are located. Zooming in, zooming out, different fill settings, and you may have noticed that there is this grid here. If you want to turn that off, that's over here. And there's also different snap settings that you can look into later if that's causing any problems in what you're doing. So now that you have a general idea of that, I'm just going to talk about some little tips to work your way around your design view. A lot of the navigation within your design is going to be done using your mouse scroll wheel. So if you have the opportunity, I would suggest using a mouse over a laptop trackpad for this, because it makes moving around your design much easier. So scrolling up will zoom in. As you can see, the square is getting bigger. Scrolling down will zoom out. And then if you want to move around the program, you hold with your middle mouse and drag. So that's how you can move around. Just click, drag. And that allows you to move around your design really easily without necessarily having to use any of these tools, but just some quick tricks for you to use with your mouse. And so in the next video, we will be talking about the first steps to creating your own house, which obviously is going to start with the walls. So I will see you there.